Welcome to another off-season edition of Giants Roundup. It is President's Day. It is Monday, February 18th, 2019. And Friday starts spring training. So, yeah, baseball's here. The Grapefruit League and the Cactus League starts on Friday night, and we still have our big guys still unsigned. Machado, Harper rumored to maybe go to Philadelphia on a 10-year contract. Giants maybe on a short-term contract. You've got Machado still available. Dallas Keuchel still available. But it looks like the White Sox might fall out of it here, so they might maybe they go after Dallas Keuchel at this point. And Kimbrel, and I forgot to do Craig Kimbrel last week with the I'm going to do Craig Kimbrel quickly as an omission from last week. Kind of think Craig Kimbrel goes to the Phillies too, as they are definitely looking for a closer in Philadelphia. I think that's where Craig Kimbrel signs. And yeah, we've got previews today. We're going to start our weekly our preview since we are 6 weeks away from the regular season. We are just 6 weeks away from the start of Major League Baseball for the year. So we're going to start our division preview, starting with the AL East today. And also tonight, we are talking about the retirement of one Giant skipper, Bruce Bochy, announcing his retirement. We'll get to that a little later, too. We're going to start with our signings for the week. It's like Jorge Polanco and Max Kepler extended by the Minnesota Twins. Not a lot in the way of signings. And it looks like CC Sabathia going to announce his retirement after the 2019 season in New York. Sabathia definitely has been hurt the last few years, has been a serviceable starter for the New York Yankees, but now is going to hang it up after the 2019 season. I wish him a lot of luck there. Mike Moustakas re-signs with the Milwaukee Brewers on a 1-year, $10 million contract with a mutual option for 2020. So Moustakas return that should help shore up things for the Milwaukee Brewers next year. And it looks like the Friars offering $250 million to Manny Machado for 8 years. So we shall see there. Maybe that's eight. So close to $30 million a year for 8 years. I think that's where Machado now ends up after they offer that contract around in San Diego. And with time running out, this has got to be the week where we see a lot of the big names finally sign and get off the pot. I'm wondering if there's any rumors on Dallas Keuchel or not. Still Keuchel, not a lot of movement on Dallas Keuchel or Craig Kimbrel. Either Kimbrel's going to have to lower his price. And I think, as I say, I think Kimbrel's is likely heading to Philadelphia after this year. So we'll see how that works out. I'm going to do this a little differently because, I'm going to do the Giants. Giants made a few signings this week. Jan Gervis, we're going to talk about the Bochy. I'm going to do the Bochy retirement after I do the previews. But the Giants did make some depth signings this week. They did sign infielder Youngurvis Solarte and Craig Gentry to minor league contracts. Gentry with the Orioles last year hitting 269, 321, 346 slash line with 1 home run. But he is a good defensive option. But maybe he plays off the bench. More likely than not, he'll be in Sacramento this year. Youngurvis Solarte, kind of a former Padre, Youngurvis Solarte, coming to the Giants on a minor league contract. Coming off a down year with the Toronto Blue Jays, with only hitting 226 with 20 doubles, 17 home runs. And I kind of think Solarte could be a good bounce back candidate. Could be a good utility if he can, good utility player. But you did have some a down year with Toronto. Maybe Solarte competes with Pablo Sandoval and Alan Hansen for one of the 2 last roster spots for backup infielder, depending on how Solarte does in spring training. I can see that. And also, it's no secret the Giants are, with Zaidi, has made it no secret that he wants to unload last year's acquisition, Evan Longoria's contract. So who knows? Maybe he can. Stranger things have happened. Of course, you saw the Dodgers make a couple salary dumps this last year with Cincinnati. So anything's possible. Maybe Longoria has a good year, but this totally would not be surprised. I think, though, he starts in the minors, barring an injury to Pablo or Alan Hansen, unless Hansen or Pablo struggles in spring training. Solarte could be a good could likely start the year in Sacramento unless he tears it up in spring training, and he's a good depth option. And certainly, if they can find a taker for that bad contract of Evan Longoria's, easily I could see Solarte slide in to play the hot corner. He's definitely some good defense. And his speed could actually be pretty good at Oracle Park. He can steal bases and hit for extra bases. So his speed would really work out well at San Francisco. He's just coming off a down year, so good luck there. But most likely not, he starts the year in Sacramento. And then the Giants did sign another outfielder this week, Cameron Maybin, to a minor league contract. Another former Padre last year, not the greatest numbers, 249, 326, 335, 14 doubles, 4 home runs, 10 stolen bases. And the only downside is that Maybin is a bit injury prone. But I kind of just see Cameron Maybin for who he's really going to be. He's just a bridge in the outfield. I think his purpose is it's going to be a bridge contract, and that gives them an opportunity to let Chris Shaw marinate in the minors some more, and it might also force. But he is a good defensive outfielder. I will say that. So he's good defensively. So I kind of think that realistically, Cameron Maybin's going to maybe platoons with either Ferguson or Parra in left field. And the downside is it may force them to. You might see Austin Slater start the year in AAA. So that is it, since he does have options still. But as of this point, I would say that your starting left fielder is going to be Cameron Maben. Your center fielder will be Steven Duggar. And I'm going to pencil in Mac Williamson in right, just mainly for the fact that he is out of options this year. He has to make the roster, and I don't think they want to lose Williamson on waivers. But that could all change. Unfortunately, Williamson is another guy that just cannot shake the injury bug. Then Ferguson, likely to be protected since he is a Rule 5 draftee. I don't think they want to waive him, so I kind of think that likely leaves Austin Slater, the odd man out at this point, depending on how things do in spring training. So I think Maben's a good bridge option. It also means Para could likely be cut after spring training or starts the year in Sacramento also. So that's how I feel on the signings. And then, of course, they keep talking about Bryce Harper. Zaidi is interested in Bryce Harper on a short-term contract, but not a long-term contract, which I think is a really good move. I don't want to be ending up with another Stanton or Miggy Cabrera type contract, being stuck with towards the tail end of his contract, being a past his prime 35-year-old, overpaid 35-year-old, 36-year-old when that contract comes to an end. Most speculations are putting Bryce Harper in Philadelphia. That's, as I said in last week's show, I think that's his most likely destination. San Diego now getting in the bidding war for Bryce Harper. So those, I think, are the two. And then I think whoever loses that is going to land Manny Machado. And it's starting to look like the White Sox are going to probably be the odd team out. Certainly they can maybe now focus their attention on Dallas Keuchel, or maybe the Milwaukee Brewers look at signing Dallas Keuchel at some point to shore up the rotation, depending on how things go here. And that's how I feel there. All right, I'm going to now we're going to kick off divisional previews. We're going to start with the AL East this week. And when I get to Tampa, I'm going to kind of go off into tangent about their situation there. So you're warned there. I am going to start off with who I think is going to finish in 5th place this year. That is going to be the Baltimore Orioles. They are definitely tearing it down to the Bolts. No more. This is the first year without Manny Machado. And certainly they would love to get rid of, I think they would love to get out of Chris Davis. Chris Davis's contract. Definitely had atrocious numbers last year in Baltimore. I think they hope to get some sort of a bounce back year from Chris Davis. Alex Cobb, they're hoping maybe to have a decent enough year out of Cobb. That way they can get some sort of a return out of Alex Cobb. Dylan Bundy could certainly be on the trading block in Baltimore, as it's a new team, new GM, new manager. Darren O'Day likely to take over the closer duties this year. This is a rebuild campaign, and it's going to be another 100, at least maybe another 100 lost year, 100 lost season for the Baltimore Orioles. So I'm putting them in 5th place. 4th place, I'm going to go with the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that is kind of fighting a rebuild situation. They're retooling, but that AL East is tough as nails as it is. I do not see Toronto faring any better this year. They're not committing to Marcus Stroman long term yet, and I kind of think Marcus Stroman could be on his way out of Toronto, depending on how the season goes for him. Stroman definitely has been hurt the last couple years, coming off a nightmare season, 4-9 with an ERA over 5. I think Stroman wants to get back into ace form at this point. But if the season starts going south for Toronto, I think Marcus Stroman could be one of the top candidates to be moved in Toronto. Aaron Sanchez, maybe an untouchable at this point. And then you've got rehabilitation projects in Matt Shoemaker. Shoemaker has definitely had his fair share of injuries the last 3 seasons. He's hoping to stay healthy in Toronto. I see Shoemaker maybe getting flipped if things start to head south in Toronto this year. And then, of course, Clayton Richard could be a starter or reliever at this point. So I don't know. I think, honestly, Toronto is going to have – I think Toronto's more likely going into a rebuild situation. I think at some point in the 2019 season, you are going to see the debut of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in Toronto. So that's something for Toronto fans to be excited for. My third place team is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays. And, you have to feel for the Rays. You do. They have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. They've got They've got Avi Garcia this year. They've got Matt Davidson. They got, I think, that other outfielder from Pittsburgh. But certainly they've got a couple good starters, Charlie Morton and Blake Snell. They could still go out, maybe consider a reunion with James Shields. Tyler Glasnow going to be in the rotation this year. And, of course, they've originated the opener in Tampa Bay, the Rays. Bullpen's usually decent. Good farm system, poor attendance, and this was kind of a sad offseason for Toronto. For Tampa Bay, they were unable to get a deal done for that Ybor City ballpark in Tampa. So now they're at this point locked into their lease at that horrible ballpark, probably one of the worst ballparks in Major League Baseball, the Tropicana Field. And I think the Rays' future in Tampa is certainly up in the air once the lease expires. And I think relocation is maybe almost imminent at this point. Maybe we start. Everybody's talking about maybe the bringing back the Montreal Expos. I kind of maybe want to see how maybe start by having a Montreal series or something like that to see if you can get fans' attention about getting fans excited for baseball in Toronto before committing to moving the Rays to Toronto at Montreal at this point. So we'll see what happens there. But other candidates that could be a relocation for the Rays, Charlotte, Orlando. Orlando could be an intriguing place for baseball. It's a tourist city. So maybe Orlando, but I don't know. The Miami Marlins, they've got that shiny new ballpark in Miami and nobody's coming. So I certainly think baseball's starting to look like a lost cause in Florida. You've got Charlotte, untapped baseball market, I think could be a successful market for Major League Baseball. So I really would pin my number 2 choice after Montreal with being Charlotte for the Rays. Nashville, that's another good market for baseball, another untapped market. you could really create a rivalry with the Orioles with a team in Tennessee. I think Nashville, a sleeper candidate for Major League Baseball. Their fans are they turn Nashville is usually high up there on attendance in the minors, so they're definitely an under the radar candidate to land an MLB team. And then the other relocation candidates would require some sort of realignment. You've got Las Vegas, and you can't discount Las Vegas at this point. I'm going to kind of do another tangent off a tangent here. You've got the Raiders, and mercifully, they're not going to be playing, and thank God they're not going to be playing at Oracle Park this year. Yeah, the Raiders are going to play 2019 and probably the 2020 season at the Oakland Coliseum. And the Vegas Golden Knights, they definitely they get good attendance for the Knights. They had their Stanley Cup appearance last year, so that's a good omen for Las Vegas. We'll see how the NFL does in Las Vegas. Raiders are definitely a brand name, but certainly what the Davis family has done is not winning any fans with the Raiders. So I could see baseball being I could see Las Vegas being a market for baseball. They would have to probably put up a retractable roof stadium somewhere in Las Vegas. So you can't count out Las Vegas as a relocation candidate. And then Portland, they're putting on a drive to bring in an MLB team. It would definitely create a natural rivalry with the Seattle Mariners. And Portland is a nice city. You could put a nice ballpark maybe right around the river, the Willamette River, and Portland is really beautiful in the summertime, so I could see Major League Baseball being a hit in Portland. But those are two cities where you'd have to have some sort of realignment for that to happen. But I think I think the Rays have suffered enough, and I think it's time for them to run as fast as they can. The Rays are going to be a good team this year. It's too bad they're in the AL East, or if you're to put them in the Central, I would certainly think the Rays could win that division if they were in the Central. But I think the Rays will be in the wild card hunt this year. They could. I have the Rays maybe being a wild card contender this year if all things go right in Tampa Bay. But it's just too bad the fans don't care in Tampa. So I've got them in third place. Second place, this one's a toss-up. These two both of these two teams could be first or second, depending on what moves are made at the trade deadline and what signings happen the next few weeks too. And these could change, depending on signings. They could change some of these where I have these teams placed. So that's for sure. And I'm going to say number 2 is going to be your World Series champion Boston Red Sox. I think there is going to be a little bit of a drop-off this year. The bullpen is a bit weaker this year without Craig Kimbrell, so we'll see who will end up taking over the closer role in Boston. That's going to be a big question mark, is Boston's bullpen. And the other question is, what happens if JD Martinez falls back to earth in 2019? Martinez definitely had a great year last year. And now Boston's. But can Boston maybe survive a JD Martinez that falls back to earth? Mookie Betts, but the pitching's still going to be there. You've got Chris Sale. Maybe Porcello has another good year. But they've definitely got the arms to compete in the rotation. But other than that, the bullpen's a little bit more of a question mark this year without Craig Kimbrell. So that's why I'm going to place Boston in second as of right now. And my first place team for this year is going to be the New York Yankees. It is World Series or bust for the Yankees. They've got, I think, one of the deepest bullpens in baseball this year. You've got Aroldis Chapman to close. You've still got Dylan Betances, who will probably be the setup man. You've got David Robertson. You've got plenty of bullpen arms in. Oh, and Zach Britton's back with the Yankees, so Britton could easily slide in the setup role. Then you have Betances play your seventh inning. So that is a murderer's row in the Yankees bullpen right there. The rotation, that's where maybe the biggest question mark for the Yankees might be this year, might be the starting rotation. I don't think it's bad, though, either. You've got the newly extended Luis Severino as your ace. And we'll see if big question mark could be this offseason's last biggest acquisition in James Paxton. So we'll see if Paxton can stay healthy in the Bronx and to see if his stuff can translate to some good numbers. It's not easy pitching at Yankee Stadium. It is a hitter-friendly ballpark. And I think it was a good move bringing back J.A. Happ. And then you got Jordan Montgomery, who's coming off of injury, so he could. And I think a young guy who could likely slide into the bullpen this year is Chance Adams. And then we'll see how Montgomery does. Can he stay healthy? And this is likely CC Sabathia's last go-around with the Yankees. The bats, yes. If they can, as long as they can stay healthy, the bats will always give you a fighting chance at the Yankees with LeMahieu, I think, should do great at Yankee Stadium. You've got Aaron Judge. You've got Giancarlo Stanton. Maybe I think Sanchez is going to come. If there's anybody who I think is going to come out back from who's going to have a bounce back year, I think it's going to be Gary Sanchez. And then we'll see who ends up playing first base. Maybe Tulowitzki. He could be a surprise this year. So I really think the Yankees are going to be the team to beat in the AL East, and I'm judging this based on bullpen. You got to have a good bullpen to make that deep run and win a championship. And I think this is the year the Bronx Bombers could actually get back to the World Series and snap a 10-year drought. Next week, we'll be going on what I think is going to be a very weak AL Central. That'll be next week. Now, on to some sad news for this week. And this just happened today. Giants manager Bruce Bochy has announced he is going to retire after the 2019 season. I think this is a good move. To be honest, I don't think the Giants are going to be good talent-wise this year. And I think Zaidi's kind of set them up this year for rebuild. I really don't think they are a contender anymore at this point, unless Harper comes to San Francisco, which I highly doubt. But Bochy came in, and he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. And what he's done for the Giants is going to be irreplaceable. The 3 championships, the only 3 championships the Giants have had since they played in San Francisco, and just the number of amazing pitchers that have come out of Bochy's system, the mixing and matching, the torture. I feel though that every good run has to come to an end. And I don't think that this is going to be I think this is just going to be a year where the focus could be more on getting prospects than to acquire talent for another championship run. And this could easily be another 90 loss season, and maybe half of this roster may not be here by the time we get to August. If the Giants are struggling by August, you're going to maybe see Bumgarner traded. You might see Will Smith traded. You might see Tony Watson traded. But this is just going to be a great farewell tour, and Bochy's definitely bound for the Hall of Fame. He's going to be in good health. Whatever happens this year, if they can make one more playoff run and get Bochy to retire on top, that would just be amazing. But whatever happens, Bochy's had a great career with the Giants, and I thank him for all what he's done for the Giants, and what was a great run between 2010 and 2016. And after this year, just enjoy your retirement. And at some point later on, we'll talk about replacement candidates. But it's be interesting to see what happens with Bam Bam. I don't know if Wotus will be around after this year too. I kind of think Wotus may retire after this year too. He's getting up there in age, and I really don't see Wotus as a potential replacement for Bochy anymore. But man, it's been a great 13 years Bochy's been here, and seeing Posey grow within our eyes, see Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, massive Bumgarner, Tim Lincecum. It's just that's 3 World Series in 5 years is just no easy feat, and I think just Bochy's going to have a great retirement. And I think they're going to really have a great send off for Bochy this year when it does come September. Whether we are making another playoff run, whether we're going to lose 90 to 100 games, I think the Giants brass Larry Baer is going to make sure to give Bruce Bochy a hero send off when this season ends. And it also is going to help Zaidi next year, as Zaidi could once the next offseason comes around, he can look for both a GM and a manager together. And maybe this is what you need too. You need a good working relationship between a general manager and a manager. Bringing them in at the same time could be really beneficial. Look what's happening with the 49ers. They brought in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at the same time. They're definitely, I think they're on the right track. And it helps to have and they definitely have a good working relationship. And it took Jed York some years to find the right combination. And also the other question mark is what will happen to Brian Sabean after this year. I think Sabian's going to quietly walk off to the sunset too. They want to keep Sabean way upstairs, and I essentially think Sabian's a lame duck after this year too. So it also just means that now Zaidi can find that Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch type of combination next year when the next offseason comes around. So that's how I feel. I think the timing's right, and I think Bochy's done what he could do with this team. With this team, he can now just focus on his health, and It's going to make this year just that more, just a skosh more exciting now with his retirement. So I wish him a lot of luck this year. Hopefully, the Giants can take Bochy out on top this year, and that's how I feel. Well, I thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next week with a preview of the AL Central. Everybody have a great week. I will see you later. Peace.